Good morning. We're very lucky to have Victor Sims here today, who is going to describe the technology that the company has developed for the whole range of world development products, and in particular the e-Lybra bioresonance system, which is a leader in the field today, particularly with some of the energetic intervention programs which are aimed at personal development for individuals. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce the e-Lybra and the WDS technology. It is something we've been working with for since 1991, when I first started this particular journey, which has been fascinating. I mean, it really has. And we discovered along the way many different energy balancing techniques to help somebody who's suffering from all sorts of conditioning, and whether it's psychological, whether it's conditioning of something in their upbringing or their religion, there's all sorts of different things create a burden that the person carries, which can cause disease if not resolved. So in this time, since the 90s, I've been researching how to connect into the consciousness of a person in order to balance some of those underlying issues that a person carries. And with this latest e-Lybra program, there are some incredibly advanced energetic techniques that we've discovered on our journey, and I'd like to share some of them with you now. Now, the e-Lybra has a lot of functionality similar to other machines. There are many bioresonance type machines out there, and they offer all sorts of similarities. Included in the e-Lybra, there's functionality for creating formulas, for analysing herbs, for analysing imbalances, intolerances, for making bioresonance patterns to take away in a bottle or in one of our wonderful e-Pendants, all sorts of things like that, pretty much common. So there's the ability to check the status of a person, the baseline of a person, to find out where they are on a systematic level, whether it's an organ or whether it's a body system. This e-Lybra system checks for it all. So let me talk about the energetic intervention program. It's the main program I'd like to talk about. The principle here is that we've asked energetically the client to navigate to the optimum place of healing for themselves. Now, this place is different for everybody, so when a person comes to that session, then the e-Lybra system talks to their consciousness, if that's the right way to put it, and then instructs the client to go to that optimum place of healing, and we record that journey on the e-Lybra system for that moment. And then we play that back and we immerse the client in that place of optimum healing, which is a fantastic place to be in. Now, the best thing to do then is to also add the thing that we want to do whilst they're in that place. And it could be to balance an organ, or to look at the underlying issues to find out why an organ is out of balance, or it could be just to eliminate a phobia or something like that. So it could be both psychological, or it could be a piece of conditioning that they've got, or it could be some diseased body part, anatomical part. So whilst they're immersed in this for an hour, energetic work is done at that high level. So their energy level is raised in terms of consciousness, and whilst at that position, whilst at that place, whilst they're immersed in that place, we can actually do other energetic work on them. And it's a very powerful program. It's the deepest program that we've managed to get to. And in fact, the results are quite profound. And we've had a great deal of success for treating many different things. So an energetic shift happened on Christmas 2012, whereby the consciousness or the vibration of the planet shifted from one vibrational level to another. Now prior to this, we were already aware of the fact that a shift was likely to happen, although we didn't know when. So we created a program called the Transformation Program that allowed somebody who wanted to raise their vibration and wanted to be connected to the new energetic grid or new energetic paradigm, so they could run this program on the e-Lybra system and have the experience of bridging into this new place, which was great. What happened was, come Christmas of 2012, there was an energetic shift happening on the planet. So the whole planet had now raised its vibration, but a lot of people had not raised their vibration. They found it difficult to work with the new vibration of the planet. Mm-hmm. So the program is now used to bring people from the old energetic paradigm and firmly anchor them into the new energetic paradigm. And that's really the main thrust of the program here. It's easy to tell a person who is not connected to the new vibration of the planet because they're having lots of emotional difficulty, they're finding it difficult to integrate with the new energies. It's just, it can be fairly obvious to a trained practitioner that their client is in this state. So we recommend the transformation program be run with everybody in order to bring them to, or to anchor them into this new paradigm. The next program to discuss is the Dissolving the Blockages to Awakening program that we have on the energetic screen here, energetic intervention screen. And the way this has come about, because we noticed that people on their personal journey, on their journey of moving forward spiritually, were hampered by some of the luggage and the conditioning that they were carrying. So we developed a little program that highlights the issues that stop the person moving forward. And really you can imagine it, in one area of a person's life they can connect with, a small baby grinning or laughing. There's that sort of connection through the heart that they can make with that. Or they might connect through an animal, or a dog, or a cat, or they might look at the trees and feel this, this connection from their heart to those things. Or just a sunset, or something like that. But often there are things in the way, whether it's an ex-wife or a neighbour that you don't like, or an accident, or some bit of conditioning, or some relationship in the past. These things do not have that connection to source. When you think of it, they have this barrier. So the idea was to create a program that looked at those barriers. That those barriers are things that keep a person in duality. So this was about finding a way to dissolve that stuff that keeps them in separation, keeps them in duality. So we came up with this program that highlights it. In fact, it highlights the item that's most in their field. It's the presenting symptom in their field, and it's designed to energetically, if this is the right word, to drill a hole in that issue, so that source, which is source looking back through that hole. So as we drill a hole into the issue, it creates a sort of creates a light, if you like, so the source is shining back through. And this is a very special program because it helps them with a bit of counselling, with a bit of help, to realise that issue is actually keeping them separate from the divine or from source. And as they become aware of that and put their own awareness into it, to help dissolve that issue, make that hole bigger, and eventually the whole issue will completely dissolve, and then they don't have separation. So then they are at one with source at that point. It's a very powerful program, and for anybody on their personal development path, it's essential that this program is run as often as there are issues, and of course we've all got many of them. There's no shortage of things to do. There's a lot of research being done at the moment on epigenetic layers. This is the informational layers that are wrapped around the DNA strands. And we've been working on this for at least 10 years now, and there's some fantastic information that's out there in a scientific sense. The e-Lybra is looking at the epigenetic layer that's wrapped around the DNA. Now this informational layer can come from many lifetimes before, many genetic lifetimes, ancestors, 8, 10, 12 lifetimes ago. The thing is, the information of those lifetimes, their fears, the concerns, all that sort of energetic information of those societies are brought down through or around the DNA structure. So when we get to it in this lifetime, we have all of this past information there, which is not necessarily relevant to where we are right now. So the DNA program, the remapping, is designed to look at those epigenetic layers and dissolve anything that is not relevant to where we are with the vibration of the planet as it is right now. So it strips away that information or dissolves it so that the person doesn't carry or doesn't have the influence in their genetic system of all of that past information, all that past trauma that's associated, that's wrapped around their DNA layer. So essentially this program is there to dissolve that information and free them up in the process. So our next option on the e-Lybra, on these session options here, is to embrace the current challenges. So when a client comes to you with whatever issue it is, that they're finding it difficult to accept it, or they're banging up against the emotions that it raises up within the body, this program should be run in order to dissolve that presenting challenge that's coming up for them. And this has the effect of them accepting the situation that they're in by dissolving any barrier or dissolving anything that's negative that comes up within them. It helps them accept and embrace that challenge. Sometimes it only takes a few moments for this program to do its thing. So within the period of time that the e-Lybra offers, several challenges could be looked at. The person the recipient can either choose which challenges to look at, something that's really bothering them, or you can just allow the e-Lybra to do its thing, and it would choose challenge after challenge after challenge within a certain period of time. The options here are for 15 minutes for each of these programs, or for a whole hour, so you can get quite a lot done. And it can be very interactive as well, so the therapist who has the e-Lybra system can work with the person whilst they're having a treatment, and to try and gauge how well that particular issue has been dissolved, and then move on to the next one. It's really, really powerful and can be quite instant as well. The next program is a program that allows for a direct connection to source. This particular option builds a bridge in terms of consciousness between where the recipient is and source. We mentioned source earlier on, and when we're talking about removing the blockages or dissolving the blockages to awakening, well, this is the place where a person can immerse themselves and have that wonderful connection to source, which they may feel in their heart. Certainly clients that have done a lot of work on themselves energetically and are used to working in that type of higher consciousness level will feel this instantaneously. It is a fantastic place to be immersed into, and again it's a 15-minute or 60-minute program, and to actually be in this place and hold that space of being connected to source is just out of this world. It's great for meditation even, but it's also just as good if you want to immerse yourself into this place with the thought of resolving an issue. So that issue can be a bodily issue, it can be an issue with another person, or it can be a situation that one finds oneself in. The next program I'd like to discuss is alignment to source. Now, we just talked about the lovely connection that we can make between the recipient and source, but sometimes that's not enough. What we need to do is to help the person be aligned to source. Now, it doesn't matter what religion they are, whether they have this belief system or whether that belief system. This is about aligning to source. And there is a movement energetically when a person runs this program from wherever they are to that alignment to source. Now, even though they might have a treatment on here doing that process, maybe a month later when this program is run again, there may be still a small correction because life has taken us back off of that alignment. You know, it's as we talked about with the awakening program, you know, this stuff comes up, keeps us in duality, keeps us in separation away from source. Well, this alignment to source also happens when we get back into the real world. So this program is there to bring a person back onto that track. The next program is emptiness and bliss. Now, through various different spiritual practices, the word emptiness is talked about, and it's a very hard thing to describe, because in Buddhist terms it may be, well, you need to go within and find that place of emptiness, and it's actually a place where you don't need to go and do anything. But to try and explain that is actually very difficult. So we've created a program that bridges the client, bridges the recipient to that place of emptiness, so that they can become aware of what emptiness feels like, and then they can go back there at will without the e-Lybra system. So all of these programs that I've talked about, certainly the last few, are personal development programs where a person can learn to do that thing, learn to find that energy, learn to go and connect themselves without actually having the system. But initially, of course, we have to find those places. It's all very well we're saying, well, emptiness is here and source is here, but for a lot of people they have no idea where that is. So this is a way of showing a person what that feels like, where that connection is made, and with a bit of practice and a bit of self-discipline, they can go there and visit that place. And emptiness and bliss, you know, it is a place of emptiness. Well, actually, it's not a place of emptiness, it's a place of where everything is empty, but that is actually the place of fullness. So it's a sort of a contradiction, but I think, you know, all these yogis and things will, you know, sort of laugh when they hear this. So this place of emptiness is actually the fullest place that you can go to. But it is a place where it isn't a place, it's deep inside, but it's not a place where you have to go. It's not a journey you have to make. You can't go and do anything to get there. So we've created that bridge to allow people to experience where that is. So they can have an experience of source, an experience of emptiness, so that they can find it themselves and then bring that into their daily life. And bliss, of course, is a place where it's also connected to source. So emptiness and bliss we put together in one program here, so that you can immerse yourself in that place and at the same time have just this wonderful experience of heart. The next program is designed to dissolve the presenting identification that the recipient has made with the containers that confine them. So let me explain what this is all about. As we go through life, we strive for a goal of something, and that might be going to university, getting a doctorate, or becoming a doctor, or becoming a golf player, or becoming something that we've strived to do. Now that's great. I mean, we need to be motivated, we need our ego to kick in to get us out of bed to go and do something. But at some point, that thing that we built up becomes a container. It's okay to become a container until that point where we become attached to it and where it starts to define us. So for instance, if we strive to become a doctor or a professional of some sort, then getting to that place of doing all of that work, is what being human is all about. That's what we do. But if suddenly there will be a point where being that professional or having that label starts to define us, and everybody that we meet sees us as defined by that thing. After a while, we ourselves define ourselves by that professional label, or whatever label it might be. At that point, when we become defined and attached to that then becomes a container for us, and the world sees us like that. In that moment, it stops us moving forward on a spiritual path, because at one level we feel comforted by the fact we've achieved this and we've got to this place. But in actual fact, it stops us right there, and it becomes a sort of a prison. So this particular program identifies that container, the presenting container, the thing that's stopping us moving forward basically, and it finds a way of dissolving that container so that we're not attached to it, so that it doesn't define us. For people in our peer group or for our family members, as that container starts to be dissolved, or once it is dissolved, people relate to us differently, because they actually relate through our containers, through these things that keep us, that give us that identity. If that identity suddenly disappears, which could happen literally in 15 minutes, then people can't relate to us in the same way, and it can be quite difficult for when having this particular program, for people then to track us. It's difficult for people to track us when those barriers have been dissolved. But for the person on their experience, having their personal journey, their personal spiritual journey, it's fantastic. And of course, actually, that's all we want. We want people to be more authentic. We want people to be themselves. We want to bring that higher consciousness into their 3D form, for them to be, to live, at that higher level, to bring that higher qualities of their beingness into them. So for everybody else, it doesn't really matter, but things do happen whereby, as the containers drop, people find it hard to communicate, because they're communicating with an identity and not with the actual person. So those containers become, at some point, they become a comfort, because we've created them and then we're in them, and we use the container to protect ourselves from the outside world. But actually, that's not what the spiritual growth is all about. It's about taking those containers down, not being attached to stuff, and actually moving forward on that particular path. And this program does exactly that. So the last one I'm going to talk about in this series is raising the vibration to the highest for this particular moment for this client. So it's designed to raise their vibration to wherever they are. Now, as time goes on and through different spiritual practices, their vibration will be at different levels. So this is really just to raise it to the highest of where they are right now. Once the person, the recipient, has experienced that vibration a number of times, they can then revisit it without the use of the e-Lybra system. And this is all of these programs we've talked about, or the last ones we talked about, are all to do with self-empowerment. So the whole point about this is to educate somebody in order to give them the experience of bridging to these various different places so that they can do that themselves, and at the end of the day they don't need the system, but they can be more self-empowered. It's just a way of showing them a way to get to those places. Another module within the e-Lybra system is the entire Dr. Clark protocol. Now, this protocol was given to us in its entirety, and we feel very blessed by this, and it contains a module that has 450 different organ parts within it, and each of those organ parts can be scanned with 250 different programs. So one of those programs may be to look at viruses, parasites, bacteria, toxins, whatever it is. So it's 250 programs against each one of those 450 organ parts. Now the great thing about this is that if there's an imbalance in one of those organ parts, that the system restores the energy imbalance at that part. So it will be a virus at that particular part or organ in the body. This makes for a very powerful correction in the imbalance of that organ, and it is unique to the Dr. Clark therapy. Most bioresonance systems will, if they find an imbalance in an organ, kidney, whatever it is, they will, the equipment will send a homeopathic remedy or a corrective pattern to the body, so like a homeopathic something or other, to the whole body, rather than to that particular organ or that particular part. So this approach is very unique, and we are very blessed to be able to put it on our system. In addition to that, on the same module there is various different formulas, or there are formulas for enhancing the immune system, for supporting the liver, and for supporting the kidney. So it's a whole module all in one on the e-Lybra. The e-Lybra itself contains over 300,000 different patterns, and those patterns may be individually or en bloc be taken from the main list of patterns, as we call it, and put into a formula of the practitioner's choice. So with this incredible flexibility and this vast database of patterns, any formula can be made for just about any part of the body. The practitioner also has the ability to sample their own. So if there's a particular remedy that isn't on the e-Lybra, then it can be purchased, and the energetic pattern can be sampled and added to the formula that they're making in order to achieve the goal. It is one of the most exciting things that the e-Lybra has to offer. I think that probably 50% of the enjoyment out of using the e-Lybra is the ability to create these awesome formulas out of nothing, and actually end up by being able to rectify an energetic problem within the human body. Now of course it can be something that's pathological, or it can be emotional, or it can be in any of the subtle anatomy. There's a whole host of things that can be done using this technique of creating formulas. And we actually have a number of different pendants that we've created. We've created our own formulas, and for instance some of these formulas will be used for a chakra balancing pendant, or this is one's for stress, and this one is for Lyme's disease, and this one for instance is for protection. So there's energetic protection to allow people to go into stores and restaurants and things that don't feel too good, and allow an energy field to be created around the person in order to filter out all of that stuff that upsets them. So all of these pendants, and we have many more as well, are created from the e-Lybra technology. And whilst we're on that subject, I'll just introduce you to a couple of our other products. So this first one is the plant enhancer. So this plant enhancer contains corrective patterns and balancing patterns to stimulate plant growth. We've used it for a number of years in greenhouses and places like that, and domestically, and the design of this is to help stimulate plant growth and also to strengthen the immune system of the plant. The next one here, a very similar shape, different colour, is for water. So this is designed to remove the imprints of previous owners of water, which isn't a very nice subject, I know, but actually it is the truth of most of the water we drink has been recycled. And it's recycled and everybody's emotions and everything else is programmed into the water. Not good. So we've created this to dissolve and remove the energetic imprints of those thought forms, and as well as to remove the imprints of all of the major toxins and things that one finds in water. The next one, which is much more recent, is the Be Healthy disc. So this Be Healthy disc has been designed to be put into hives, beehives, honey beehives, in order to strengthen the immune system of the bee colony, in order to help it resist varroa mite and a number of other different horrendous problems that you can have in a beehive. And we've put this particular program to strengthen the immune system. When we look at the problems with bees, we find that a number of different problems can occur in one hive because the immune system is down. By strengthening the immune system, it gives the bees a fighting chance to fend off some of the problems that you find. And this is simply screwed onto the beehive, and it radiates the patterns. The radiation or the field that's created is about 1 metre away from the disc. So anything within that 1 metre range will be in the field that this creates. So the next product I'd like to talk about is Silent Healing. Now, this is an audio CD, and this came about because of my background as a sound engineer, and the CD is absolutely completely silent when you play it. So what I wanted to avoid was to put ordinary music on it that became irritating to anybody that listened to it, if it was in their bedroom or in an environment such as a waiting room. I wanted it to be completely silent, so ordinary music could be played, but this could be played in the background. There's an interesting story about this, because we had an opportunity to put this Silent Healing into some fitness centres around the UK, in fact 42 of them all at once, and that's because they had a sort of a jukebox sound system that was in every room of the various different fitness centres. So we loaded this into their jukebox of CDs, which was a random jukebox of CDs, and we put this to play 18 hours a day for 30 days. And then we went round to some of the centres that were near Malvern, and we got to monitor the environment, and it was fantastic. You walk into the building, and the whole reception area and all the gymnasiums and everywhere I just had this wonderful feeling. It was really tangible, really soft, clear thinking. It was really a wonderful experience. So just to put this into a waiting room, a doctor's waiting room, or some waiting room where the public is continuously coming in, is absolutely a must for any business. So that's Silent Healing. It fits into CD player or into the drive of a computer, and it uses the speakers to send out the patterns. Now, it doesn't have to be very loud, so if you've got a large place, it doesn't have to be loud, it just has to have lots of speakers in order to get the energy of the product into the different rooms and different corridors. The next product I'd like to discuss is Computer Clear. Now, Computer Clear is a program that fits on to the Windows-based PCs. It's exactly the same as Silent Healing that we just discussed, but it is actually a program that runs in the background of the computer. Once it's loaded, it just sits there in the background, and every time you switch your machine on, it fires itself up and sits there and sends out exactly the same patterns that are in silent healing. And it uses the computer screen, it uses the electronics of the computer to radiate those patterns out. It creates a beautiful space around the computer, and a comparative test would be to have computer clear on one machine and then have several other machines like a standard office environment, and you'll see just by moving between one machine and the other that the other machines seem really dense when you're sitting in front of them, or the energy feels really dense, but moving back to the machine with computer clear on it, it actually feels really light and is actually a pleasure to work in front of. It helps with getting rid of tiredness and helps reduce fatigue and all that sort of thing. When our lives are run, or most people's lives are run by computers these days, so it's actually a benefit sitting in front of the computer because it actually offers some healing as well. So that's computer clear. And the next one to talk about is a bit of a heavy piece here, is the WDS Geopathic unit. Now, we've been involved with balancing the energies of houses and offices for a long time, more than 20 years. And we've developed this because there's a need to harmonise the energies created by adverse energy coming up from the earth, from ley lines, from disembodied spirits, from ghosts, all that sort of thing that people find in their houses that cause them trouble. So we've developed this device. It plugs into the mains. It runs at 100 volts up to 240 volts. So it's this same unit is sold throughout the whole world, and we just put a different cable in there depending on what socket it's got to fit in. And the wiring that we use to radiate the patterns is literally the wire that plugs straight into the outlet, the mains outlet. So if you imagine, we use the wiring as an extension of this device. It's like an antenna. And so the Geopathic device sort of sets up this field, and if anything comes into the field, or anything is in the field when you plug it in, that is out of balance, then it finds within its little microprocessor database here, it's got over 360 patterns I think currently, and it looks at those, it looks at the field, it compares it with its database of patterns, and if it finds that there's a particular resonance in the field, then it will send out a complementary pattern to harmonise that and knock it out. Now this thing is dynamic, so if the energy is not required, then it powers itself down for each one of the individual 360 patterns. So it can cope with major disturbance, and it will ramp itself up to the right amplitude. It will harmonise the pattern, and then it will switch itself off unless that pattern is required again. And all these patterns within it work individually, so it's a very dynamic process. It also feels fantastic when you've got it in the room because it has that sort of connection to source type feel. So it's great for any building, used in offices as well as domestic properties. It has a range of 400 square metres, so that's a very large house or a reasonable size office, and it uses the copper that runs around the room, so it's the mains that runs around the room, as its antenna. So really it's just sitting there looking at that antenna to see whether the patterns are required in that particular room. It's a fabulous product, and on the other end is a USB device. So it doesn't matter where it is in the world, if there's actually a need to update the Geopathic unit, then this just plugs into the computer and download it from our website to put the latest version of the software in there. So it never has to come back to WDS. So there we are, that's the Geopathic unit. Thank you. Not only are we doing domestic equipment and domestic appliances, we also offer this one here, which is for agriculture and horticulture. And this is a water treatment device programmed from the e-Lybra. And on the end here there's a little USB socket, as there was on the Geopathic one that we just talked about. And this can be programmed directly from anybody that has an e-Lybra system with their own formula. So it doesn't matter where they are in the world, we don't have to be involved. The client can put, or the person who owns the e-Lybra can write their own formula, download it into the USB, and this can send out patterns to potentize water. And the size of the water pipe that it can potentize, in other words the water that runs through the pipe, that size of that pipe is 75 millimeters. So that's no small piece of pipe. So any formula that can be created on the e-Lybra, downloaded into the firmware, into here, and then this device sends out a signal through an antenna around the pipe and can potentize 75 millimeter pipes full of water. So I'd like to just answer a few questions about the e-Pendants that we manufacture. The e-Pendant is made up of a composite material manufactured by WDS. For sure, the pendant is actually plastic when you look at it, but actually under a microscope, if you look inside, there's lots of different minerals that we've put together in a certain sort of recipe. Now, the e-Lybra charges up this pendant with the bioresonance patterns, so when the person or recipient of the session takes it away, they have extra support for whatever patterns have been chosen for them. Now, the way that it actually works when the person's holding it is, if you can imagine that everybody radiates their disease into their biofield, their disease, their emotions, their psychology all comes out in their biofield. So really what this is doing is it's like having multiple tuning forks all in one little tiny package. And if the person starts to re-radiate some of their disease patterns out, and the pattern is in here for that particular disease, then when this device starts to sense that pattern being radiated again from the body, it sends back a cancelling type of pattern to harmonise that particular energy that's coming out of the body. So it's kind of noise cancellation again, or we used that idea before, noise cancellation from an energetic standpoint. So whilst wearing it, as soon as the body starts to go back into its old pattern and sending out that disease or sending out that particular issue or whatever it is, providing the pattern has already been loaded into here, charged up, then it will try and compensate and try to harmonise that pattern that's coming out from the body. Anyway, that's the e-Pendant, and thank you very much. When you buy an e-Lybra system, it gives you a gateway to the technology of possibilities. So I have a few thank yous as well, to particularly for my team, WDS team, that have supported me on this wonderful journey. So I thank you all. We also have several new products coming along, and if you like to look at the caption at the end of this video, there's all the links to our numerous websites and numerous products that we do. Not all of them have I shown you here today. There are several more that I haven't shown you, so please feel free to visit our websites and see the other products that we make. We're always in development and always researching other stuff. So we already have a series of new products which we are currently developing, which will be released at some point soon. So if you want to be kept in the loop about those, then just look at the caption at the end of the video and sign up for our newsletter, and also link into our Facebook site as well. So thank you very much.